First contact and misunderstanding. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from a dozen alien species gathered for an emergency session. At the center of the room, a holographic display flickered to life, showing grainy footage of bipedal creatures engaged in what appeared to be brutal combat. Ambassador Zixnera of the Quilaxian Empire, a tall, slender being with iridescent scales, raised all four of her arms to call for silence. Esteemed colleagues, she began, her voice translating seamlessly through the chamber's advanced communication systems, we have called this meeting to address a grave concern. Our deep space probes have detected a previously unknown species on the fringes of the Orion Arm. We believe they call themselves humans. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as the footage continued to play. It showed humans in various settings, some grappling with each other in enclosed spaces, others wielding projectile weapons in simulated urban environments, and still others piloting vehicles that seemed designed for warfare. As you can see, Zixnera continued, her voice tense, these humans appear to be constantly training for conflict. Our analysts believe they may be preparing for galactic warfare. Ambassador Kroll, a stocky representative from the militant Vargan Collective, leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the hologram. Have they detected our presence? Are they aware of the greater galactic community? That's just it, Zixnera replied, her scales shifting to a worried blue hue. We have no evidence that they've developed faster-than-light travel or long-range communication capabilities, yet they seem to be constantly preparing for a threat beyond their world. The chamber erupted into concerned chatter. A small gelatinous being named Blob, a rough translation of its actual name, oozed forward. Perhaps, it burbled, we should send an emissary. Establish peaceful contact before they become a genuine threat. Kroll scoffed, a harsh metallic sound from his augmented vocal cords. Peaceful contact. With a species so clearly bent on violence, we should neutralize the threat now, while we still have the advantage. As the debate raged on, none of the assembled aliens noticed a small, spider-like drone clinging to the shadowy ceiling of the chamber. Its multifaceted eyes recorded every moment of the proceedings, transmitting the data back to a cloaked ship hovering just beyond the station's sensor range. Aboard that ship, Captain Ilara Chen of the Earth Interstellar Intelligence Service, EIIS, watched the alien council with growing concern. Well, she muttered to her executive officer, Commander Raj Patel, this is not how I imagined first contact would go. Raj nodded grimly. They've completely misinterpreted everything they've seen. Those training simulations, the sports broadcasts, even the video games, they think it's all preparation for interstellar war. Ilara pinched the bridge of her nose, feeling a headache coming on. Humanity had indeed developed faster than light travel, but they'd kept it secret, using it only for reconnaissance as they debated how best to introduce themselves to the galactic community. Now it seemed their hand might be forced. Options, Raj? She asked, her mind already racing through potential scenarios. We could reveal ourselves now, Raj suggested. Try to explain the misunderstanding before they decide to take preemptive action against Earth. Ilara shook her head. Too risky. If we spook them, they might attack first and ask questions later. No, we need a more subtle approach. As they pondered their next move, the Alien Council continued its heated debate. Ambassador Zixnera struggled to maintain order as various factions argued for and against immediate action. We cannot rush to judgment, insisted Telon, a wrinkled, elderly representative of the Vulpine Conclave. Our own history is rife with misunderstandings that led to unnecessary conflict. We must gather more information. Kroll's cybernetic eye flashed angrily. While we gather information, they gather strength. Every moment we delay gives them more time to prepare for war. Back on the human ship, Ilara had come to a decision. Raj, prepare a data packet. We're going to give our new galactic neighbors a little push in the right direction. As Raj worked, Ilara addressed the rest of her small crew. Listen up, people. We're about to change the course of human history. Our mission was to observe and report, but circumstances have forced our hand. We're going to make first contact, but we're going to do it on our terms." The crew, a diverse group of Earth's finest, looked at their captain with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They had trained for this possibility, but the reality of it was still overwhelming. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from the communication station, "I'm picking up transmissions from the alien station. It looks like they're mobilizing ships. A lot of ships." Ilara's jaw tightened. "Time frame?" "Based on the chatter, they'll be ready to move in about 6 hours," Yuki reported. "Well then," Ilara said, a determined glint in her eye, "we've got 5 hours to change their minds." "Raj, is the data packet ready?" Commander Patel nodded. "Ready, Captain. I've included a curated selection of human entertainment, sports broadcasts, and historical documentaries. Should give them a more balanced view of our species." "Good," Ilara said. "Now for the tricky part. Ensign Joe, think you can get us close enough to piggyback our signal onto their communications array without being detected?" Wei Zhao, the ship's young but brilliant pilot, grinned. "If it can be done, I can do it, Captain." As the human ship carefully maneuvered closer to the alien station, the council inside had reached a grim consensus. They would send a scouting fleet to the human solar system, ostensibly for peaceful contact, but armed and ready for conflict. Just as Ambassador Zixnera was about to formalize the decision, every screen in the chamber suddenly flickered. The images of human combat were replaced by a dizzying array of content. Scenes from popular entertainment shows, sports events, documentaries about Earth's natural wonders, and recordings of peaceful human interactions. The aliens watched in stunned silence as they saw humans laughing, crying, competing in nonviolent contests, creating art, and exploring their own world. The context they had been missing suddenly snapped into focus. What is this?" Zixnera asked, her scales shifting to a confused purple. As if in answer, a new image appeared. It showed a diverse group of humans standing together, looking directly at the camera. In the center stood Captain Ilara Chen. "Greetings, citizens of the galaxy," Ilara said, her voice calm and clear. "We are humans from the planet Earth. We apologize for the confusion our transmissions may have caused. We are not preparing for war. What you have seen are simply aspects of our culture, our entertainment, our sports, our way of processing complex emotions and ideas through art and storytelling." The council chamber was utterly silent as Ilara continued. "We have known of your presence for some time, and we have been cautiously observing, trying to determine the best way to introduce ourselves. Recent events have forced us to accelerate our plans. We come in peace, seeking friendship and mutual understanding." As Ilara's message played on, the mood in the council chamber began to shift. The fear and suspicion that had dominated earlier were gradually replaced by curiosity and, in some cases, embarrassment at their rush to judgment. Ambassador Tilon of the Vulpine Conclave was the first to speak after the transmission ended. "It seems," he said, his wizened face creasing into what might have been a smile, "that we have much to learn about our new neighbors." Even the militant Kroll seemed taken aback. Their deception was impressive, he grudgingly admitted, to hide their true capabilities while allowing us to monitor their planet. Perhaps they are not to be underestimated. Zixnera, her scales now a thoughtful green, raised her arms for attention. "Colleagues, it appears we stand at a historic crossroads. The humans have extended an olive branch. I propose we reciprocate their openness with our own." As the council began to debate this new development, now with decidedly less hostility, Captain Ilara Chen and her crew watched from their hidden vantage point. "Well," Raj said, breaking the tense silence on the bridge, "I guess we're not going to war today." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. "No, Commander, but our work is just beginning. Humanity's greatest challenge lies ahead, proving to our galactic neighbors that we're ready to join their community." As the human ship prepared to decloak and make official first contact, Alara couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, it would be a future shared with other intelligent species among the stars. The story of humanity's place in the galaxy was about to enter a new chapter, and Alara Chen and her crew had just written its opening lines. Alien reconnaissance and human resilience. In the weeks following humanity's unexpected introduction to the galactic community, Earth became a hive of activity. Governments scrambled to establish protocols for extraterrestrial interactions, while the public cycled through emotions ranging from excitement to fear to cautious optimism. Captain Alara Chen found herself at the center of it all, her impromptu first contact message having catapulted her into the role of humanity's de facto ambassador. As she prepared for yet another debriefing, she couldn't help but wonder if she'd made the right call. "Captain," Commander Raj Patel said, interrupting her thoughts, "the Galactic Council's advance team has entered Earth orbit. They're requesting permission to send down a shuttle." Alara took a deep breath. "Well, I suppose it's time to roll out the welcome mat. Inform United Earth Command and get me a direct line to the alien shuttle." As Raj relayed the messages, Alara straightened her uniform and faced the communication screen. The face that appeared belonged to Ambassador Zixnera, her iridescent scales shimmering with an array of colors that Alara was still learning to interpret. "Ambassador," Alara greeted with a nod. "Welcome to Earth. We're honored to host you and your team." Zixnera's scales settled into a calm blue. "Captain Chen, the honor is ours. Your message of peace has opened many eyes in the galactic community. We look forward to learning more about your species and your world." As pleasantries were exchanged and landing coordinates provided, Alara couldn't shake a nagging feeling of unease. The aliens had accepted their explanation, but would they truly understand humanity once they saw Earth up close? Hours later, as the alien shuttle touched down in a specially prepared landing zone outside New Geneva, Alara stood at the forefront of a welcoming committee comprising diplomats, scientists, and military personnel from around the world. The shuttle's door opened with a soft hiss, and out stepped Ambassador Zixnera, followed by a diverse group of alien representatives. There was Kroll from the Vargan Collective, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming in the sunlight. Toulon of the Vulpine Conclave, looking even more ancient in person, and several others Alara recognized from the council recordings. As the two groups approached each other, an unexpected rumble shook the ground. Alara's training kicked in immediately. "Everyone, stay calm. It's just an Earth." Her words were cut short as the tremor intensified. In the distance, buildings swayed, and the sound of shattering glass filled the air. The alien delegation looked around in panic, clearly unprepared for this natural phenomenon. Without hesitation, Alara sprang into action. "Ambassador, everyone, please follow me. We need to get to safe ground." As she led the group away from potential falling debris, Alara noticed Kroll's cybernetic eye whirring rapidly, likely recording everything. Despite the crisis, the Vargan seemed more intrigued than frightened. Once they reached a safe distance, Alara turned to the shaken alien diplomats. "I apologize for the unexpected welcome. What you just experienced is called an earthquake. It's a natural occurrence on our planet due to the movement of tectonic plates beneath the surface." Thlan, the elderly Vulpine, leaned heavily on his staff. "You mean to say your very planet is unstable? How do you survive in such conditions?" Before Alara could respond, the sound of sirens filled the air. Emergency vehicles rushed past them towards the affected areas of the city. In the distance, they could see people already beginning to clear debris and check on their neighbors. Ambassador Zixnera's scales had turned a deep purple, a color Alara hadn't seen before. "Fascinating," the Quilaxian murmured. "Your people, they do not panic. They adapt." Alara nodded, a hint of pride in her voice. "It's one of humanity's greatest strengths. We face adversity, whether from nature or elsewhere, and we find ways to overcome it. to thrive despite it. As they watched the efficient emergency response unfold, Kroll spoke up, his metallic voice tinged with what might have been respect. Perhaps we underestimated you, humans. This resilience, it is a formidable trait. Over the next few days, as aftershocks continued to rumble through the region, the alien delegation witnessed humanity at its best. They saw rescue workers tirelessly searching for survivors, communities coming together to provide aid, and the swift deployment of resources to begin rebuilding. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. As the aliens began their official tour of Earth's major cities and institutions, cultural misunderstandings abounded. In New York, the cacophony of sounds and the towering skyscrapers overwhelmed the sensitive hearing of the Vulpine delegates. In Moscow, the Vargans mistook a passionate debate in the Duma for the onset of civil war. And in Tokyo, the entire delegation was baffled by the concept of vending machines selling everything from hot coffee to live crabs. Through it all, Ilara and her team worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between human and alien understanding. They explained Earth's diverse cultures, its complex history of conflicts and cooperation, and its ongoing struggles and triumphs. One evening, as they overlooked the rebuilt skyline of New Geneva, Ambassador Zixnera approached Ilara privately. "Captain Chen, I must confess something to you." Ilara turned, curious. "What is it, Ambassador?" Zixnera's scales rippled with a mix of colors Ilara couldn't quite decipher. "When we first discovered your world, many on the council, myself included, saw only the potential for violence in your species. We feared you, but now, having walked among you, I see something else entirely." "And what's that?" Ilara asked, genuinely intrigued. "Potential," Zixnera replied, her voice filled with wonder. "Your kind faces challenges that would break many species. Your world is volatile, your history fraught with conflict. Yet you persist. You create beauty amidst chaos, find unity in diversity. It's humbling." Ilara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. This was the understanding she had hoped for when she made that fateful decision to reveal humanity's presence. "Thank you, Ambassador. We're far from perfect, but we're always striving to be better." As they continued to talk, Ilara noticed Kroll standing off to the side, his cybernetic eye focused on the city below. She excused herself from Zixnera and approached him. "Enjoying the view, Ambassador Kroll?" she asked. The Vargan turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Your cities rise and fall like living things, Captain Chen. In the span of days, you've rebuilt what nature destroyed. It's impressive." Ilara sensed there was more. "But..." Kroll's cybernetic eye weared as he focused on her. "But it makes me wonder, if humans can rebuild so quickly from natural disasters, how quickly could you recover from other types of destruction? How formidable would you be if truly pressed into conflict?" The implied threat wasn't lost on Ilara, but she kept her composure. "Ambassador Kroll, our resilience isn't about preparing for war. It's about survival, about making sure we have a home and a future for our children. We've learned, often the hard way, that cooperation is far more beneficial than conflict." Kroll was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. "A diplomatic answer, Captain. But remember, not all species in the galaxy share your optimism." As Kroll walked away, Ilara felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. Despite the progress they'd made, it was clear that some in the galactic community still viewed humanity with suspicion, perhaps even fear. The next morning, as the alien delegation prepared for their final day on Earth, an urgent message came through from United Earth Command. Ilara's blood ran cold as she read it. "Captain Chen," the message read, "our long-range sensors have detected a large fleet of unidentified ships entering the solar system. They're not responding to hails and are on a direct course for Earth. Estimated time of arrival: 6 hours." Ilara's mind raced. Was this a misunderstanding? A show of force by a cautious galactic community? Or something worse? As she hurried to inform the alien ambassadors and coordinate with Earth's defenses, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's true test was just beginning. The resilience they had shown in the face of natural disasters was one thing. But how would they fare against an unknown threat from the stars? With determination in her eyes, Ilara began to formulate a plan. Humanity had surprised the galactic community once with their ingenuity and adaptability. If necessary, they would do it again. As the clock ticked down and tensions rose, Earth prepared to face its greatest challenge yet. The next few hours would determine not just the fate of humanity, but potentially the balance of power in the entire galaxy. Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Well, she muttered to herself, I guess we're about to find out just how resilient we really are. The truth revealed. Human entertainment is alien perception. As the unidentified fleet drew closer to Earth, the planet was a flurry of activity. Military forces worldwide were on high alert, civilian defense protocols were activated, and the alien delegation found themselves in the unusual position of being both guests and potential intermediaries in a looming interstellar crisis. Captain Ilara Chen stood in the newly established Unified Earth Command Center, a repurposed bunker beneath the rebuilt streets of New Geneva. Surrounding her were screens displaying real-time data from Earth's fledgling space defense network, as well as the concerned faces of world leaders and military commanders. Status report, Ilara demanded, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Commander Raj Patel, who had been coordinating with global defense forces, stepped forward. The unknown fleet has entered the outer solar system. We're counting over 200 ships of various sizes. They're maintaining radio silence and continuing on a direct course for Earth. Ilara nodded grimly. And our defenses? We've mobilized everything we have, Raj replied. But against a force of this size. He left the sentence unfinished, the implication clear. At that moment, Ambassador Zixnera entered the command center, her scales a swirling mix of worried grays and purples. Captain Chen, I've been in contact with the Galactic Council. They claim to have no knowledge of this fleet. Whatever's coming, it's not sanctioned by the official galactic community. Ilara's mind raced. If it wasn't the Galactic Council, then who? And why? She was about to respond when a junior communications officer called out. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead ship of the unknown fleet. On screen, Ilara ordered, bracing herself for whatever came next. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that left everyone in the room speechless. The being on the screen was unmistakably human. An elderly man with twinkling eyes and a mischievous smile. Hello, Earth, the man said cheerfully. This is George Lucas. Sorry for the scare, but we thought it was about time for a proper introduction. The silence in the command center was deafening. Ilara found her voice first. I'm sorry. Did you say George Lucas? As in, the filmmaker? The man on the screen chuckled. The very same. Though these days, I prefer intergalactic entertainment mogul. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? As Ilara and the others tried to process this bizarre turn of events, George continued. Now, I know you must have a lot of questions. Let me explain. You see, humanity has been part of the galactic community for quite some time. We just kept it a secret from, well, most of humanity. The revelation hit Ilara like a ton of bricks. All this time, while they had been cautiously observing the galaxy, thinking they were hidden, a select group of humans had already been out there among the stars. George's expression turned more serious. We've been monitoring the situation with the Galactic Council. When we saw how they misinterpreted our culture, we knew it was time to step in. This fleet, it's not a war fleet. It's the largest movie production crew in the galaxy. As if on cue, the fleet began to change formation. What had appeared to be weapon ports on the ships opened to reveal massive projection systems. Suddenly, the space around Earth was filled with colossal holographic displays, each showing scenes from various human movies, TV shows, and sporting events. In the command center, jaws dropped as they watched. Ambassador Zixnera's scales had turned a brilliant gold, a color Ilara had never seen before. By the cosmic winds, the Quilaxian whispered, "It's beautiful." George's voice continued to explain. For centuries, we've been sharing human stories with the galaxy, our creativity, our imagination. It's our greatest export. Those combat training simulations the Council saw, mostly action movies and video games. We've been entertaining the galaxy, not preparing for war. As the implications of this revelation sank in, Ilara couldn't help but laugh. All the tension, all the fear of the past few hours dissolved into a mixture of relief and absurdity. Ambassador Kroll, who had been silently observing until now, spoke up. "This is unprecedented. You mean to tell us that your entire species wasn't aware of this? That you've been inadvertently preparing for a conflict that was never coming?" Ilara turned to the Fargan ambassador. "It appears so. Though I have to say, I'm not sure if I should be relieved or annoyed." As the initial shock wore off, the command center burst into action. World leaders demanded more information. Scientists excitedly discussed the implications of the advanced holographic technology, and military commanders cautiously stood down their forces. George Lucas, still on the main screen, cleared his throat. "Now, I know this is a lot to take in, but we're here to help smooth things over with the Galactic Council. And, well, we thought we might as well put on a bit of a show while we're at it. Consider this humanity's official galactic premiere." Over the next few hours, Earth was treated to the most spectacular entertainment extravaganza in its history. The sky came alive with scenes from classic films, breathtaking sporting events, and awe-inspiring artistic performances, all on a scale never before imagined. As the show unfolded, Ilara found herself on the roof of the command center, watching the spectacle with the alien delegation. Ambassador Zixnera stood beside her, her scales now a kaleidoscope of excited colors. "Captain Chen," Zixnera said, her voice filled with wonder, "I owe you and your species an apology. We grossly misunderstood your culture. This is not the behavior of a warlike species. This is art. This is joy." Ilara nodded, still trying to wrap her head around everything. "Thank you, Ambassador. Though I have to admit, I'm as surprised as you are. It seems we humans have a lot to learn about ourselves and our place in the galaxy." As they watched, a massive space battle from one of the Star Wars films played out above them. The irony wasn't lost on Ilara. The very images that had once frightened the Galactic Council were now being used to entertain and unite. Ambassador Kroll approached, his cybernetic eye whirring as it tried to capture every detail of the show. "I must admit, Captain, your species continues to surprise me. To think, all this time we feared your warfare, when we should have been appreciating your storytelling." Ilara smiled. "Well, Ambassador, I suppose that's the power of perspective. Sometimes, what looks like preparation for conflict is really just an expression of imagination." As the night wore on, and the galactic premiere continued, news of the event spread across Earth. People poured into the streets, gazing up at the sky in awe. The fear and tension of the past weeks melted away, replaced by a sense of wonder and possibility. In the early hours of the morning, as the show finally began to wind down, George Lucas's face appeared once more on screens around the world. "People of Earth," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "Tonight marks the beginning of a new era. For too long, we've kept the wonders of the galaxy from you, but no more. It's time for all of humanity to take its place among the stars." He paused, letting his words sink in. "In the coming days, we'll be working with your governments to begin the process of full disclosure. There will be challenges ahead, no doubt, but if there's one thing I've learned in my years traveling the cosmos, it's that humanity's greatest strength is its ability to dream, to imagine, to create." As George's speech concluded, Ilara felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see Commander Raj, a bemused expression on his face. "So, Captain," he said with a grin, "it turns out our first alien encounter was with Hollywood. I'm not sure if that's the best or worst case scenario." Ilara laughed, the absurdity of the situation finally hitting her full force. "Well, Commander, I suppose it could have been worse. At least we know the galaxy has good taste in entertainment." As the sun began to rise on a new day, Ilara couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement for what lay ahead. The galaxy wasn't the hostile, war-torn place they had feared. Instead, it was a vast playground of cultures, stories, and experiences waiting to be explored. She turned to the alien delegation, who were still watching the sky with wonder. "Well, ambassadors," she said with a smile, "I believe we have a lot to discuss. Who's up for a movie marathon? I hear there's this great film called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Seems appropriate, don't you think?" As laughter filled the air and plans for the future began to take shape, Ilara knew that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The stars were no longer a distant dream, but a new frontier of storytelling, creativity, and connection. And somewhere out there, amidst the vast expanse of the cosmos, the next great human blockbuster was waiting to be made. Diplomacy and cultural exchange. In the weeks following the revelation of humanity's secret role in galactic entertainment, Earth found itself at the center of an unprecedented diplomatic and cultural whirlwind. The initial shock had given way to a frenzy of activity as governments, institutions, and ordinary citizens grappled with their new reality. Captain Ilara Chen, now officially appointed as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, stood in the newly christened Terran Embassy on Galaxia Prime, the capital world of the galactic community. The embassy, a striking blend of human architectural styles from across Earth's cultures, served as a statement of humanity's diversity and creativity. "Ambassador Chen," the voice called from behind her. Ilara turned to see her aide, Lisa Wong, approaching with a datapad. "The first group of human exchange students is ready for their orientation, and the Galactic Council has sent over the final draft of the Cultural Integration Treaty for your review." Ilara nodded, taking the datapad. "Thank you, Lisa. Let's not keep our eager students waiting, and tell the Council I'll have my comments on the treaty by end of day." As they walked through the embassy's corridors, Ilara marveled at how quickly things had progressed. In just a few short months, humanity had gone from a species unaware of its place in the galaxy to active participants in galactic affairs. The orientation room was buzzing with excitement as Ilara entered. 24 young humans from various nations on Earth looked up at her with a mixture of awe and nervousness. These were the pioneers, the first official group of humans to study at galactic institutions. "Welcome, all of you," Ilara began, a warm smile on her face. "You're about to embark on an adventure unlike any in human history. You'll be the first to study alongside beings from across the galaxy, to learn their ways and share our own." A young woman raised her hand. "Ambassador, I'm honored to be here, but I'm also terrified. How do we even begin to relate to species so different from us?" Ilara's smile widened. "An excellent question. And the answer is simpler than you might think. Through stories. Our narratives. Our art. Our entertainment. These are the bridges that have already connected us to the galaxy. You'll find that despite our differences, the desire to share and experience stories is a universal constant." As the orientation continued, Ilara couldn't help but reflect on the irony of the situation. The very things that had once been misinterpreted as signs of aggression, human movies, games, and sports, were now the cornerstone of their diplomatic efforts. Later that day, Ilara found herself in a meeting with Ambassador Zixnera and several other key figures from the Galactic Council. The topic of discussion: the upcoming Galactic Cultural Festival, where Earth would make its official debut. "Ambassador Chen," Zixnera began, her scales a pleasant shade of blue, "we're thrilled to have Earth participating in the festival. But we must admit, we're a bit overwhelmed by the sheer volume of cultural artifacts your team wants to showcase." Ilara chuckled. I apologize if we've been overzealous, Ambassador. It's just that now that the floodgates are open, everyone on Earth wants to share their piece of human culture with the galaxy. An elderly Vulpine representative, his fur now more white than gray, leaned forward. It's not just the quantity, Ambassador Chen. Some of the content is perplexing to us. These memes, for instance, we're having trouble understanding their significance. Ilara had to stifle a laugh. Explaining internet meme culture to alien diplomats was not something she had ever anticipated doing in her career. Well, you see, memes are a form of rapid cultural evolution. They're inside jokes on a global scale, constantly changing and adapting. They're a perfect example of human creativity and our ability to find humor in the absurd. The explanation seemed to both fascinate and confuse the alien diplomats in equal measure. But that was becoming a common occurrence in these cross-cultural exchanges. As the meeting progressed, they discussed everything from the logistics of showcasing Earth's diverse cuisines, taking into account various alien physiologies, to the challenge of translating human idioms into galactic standard languages. Oh, and one more thing, Kroll, the Vargan ambassador, interjected near the end of the meeting. We've been receiving numerous requests from various species to visit this Hollywood place. They seem to believe it's some sort of mystical realm where stories come to life. Ilara couldn't help but laugh at this. Well, Ambassador Kroll, Hollywood does have a certain magic to it. But I assure you, it's very much a real place. We'd be happy to arrange tours once we've sorted out the details of interstellar tourism. As the meeting concluded and the diplomats filed out, Zixnera lingered behind. Ambassador Chen, a moment of your time. Ilara nodded, curious about what the Galaxian wanted to discuss in private. I wanted to express my personal gratitude. Zixnera began, her scales shifting to a deep, sincere purple. Your species' introduction to the galactic community has been transformative. The energy, the creativity you've brought to our somewhat stagnant bureaucracy, it's refreshing. Ilara was touched by the sincerity in Zixnera's voice. Thank you, Ambassador. That means a lot coming from you. We're just happy to finally be part of the larger community. Zixnera's expression turned more serious. However, I feel I must warn you. Not everyone is as enthusiastic about humanity's rapid integration. There are some who fear the changes you bring, who worry about the influence your culture might have on their own. Ilara nodded solemnly. She had suspected as much. Change, even positive change, often met resistance. I appreciate the warning, Ambassador. Rest assured, we're committed to respectful cultural exchange, not domination or erasure. As Zixnera left, Ilara's mind was already racing with ideas on how to address these concerns. Perhaps a series of cultural sensitivity workshops for humans venturing into the galaxy, or maybe a galactic-wide campaign emphasizing the value of cultural diversity. Her thoughts were interrupted by an alert on her comm device. It was a message from Earth, marked urgent. Ilara's heart raced as she opened it, fearing some new crisis. Instead, she found herself looking at a video of a Galaxian stand-up comedian performing on a stage in New York City. The alien was telling jokes about their first experiences on Earth, from the confusion of using human bathrooms to the terror of experiencing their first roller coaster ride. The human audience was in stitches, their laughter a universal language of appreciation. And there, in the front row, Ilara spotted George Lucas himself, chuckling along with the rest. A smile spread across Ilara's face. This was what it was all about. Not just humans sharing their culture with the galaxy, but a true exchange, a blending of experiences and perspectives that enriched everyone involved. As she watched the video, another message came through. This one was from a group of human and alien game developers, excitedly sharing their progress on a new virtual reality experience that would allow players to explore accurate recreations of worlds across the galaxy. The ideas, the collaborations, the connections, they were happening faster than anyone could have anticipated. Humanity's creativity, it seemed, was infectious. But with this rapid integration came new challenges. Reports were coming in of human tourists getting into trouble on alien worlds, misunderstanding local customs, or accidentally causing offense. There were also concerns about the potential for cultural appropriation as aliens began adopting and adapting human trends. Ilara sighed, realizing that her job was far from over. In fact, it was only getting more complex. But as she looked out the window of her office, gazing at the spectacular alien cityscape of Galaxia Prime, she couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. This was humanity's greatest adventure, their greatest story yet, and she was right in the middle of it, helping to write the next chapter. As the day wound down, Ilara received one final communication. It was from the Galactic Council's Department of Temporal Affairs, a division she hadn't even known existed until now. Ambassador Chen. The message read, "We've detected some unusual temporal anomalies centered around Earth. Nothing dangerous, but interesting. We believe it may be related to your species' uncanny ability to imagine and predict future technologies through your science fiction genre. We'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss this further." Ilara read the message twice, then burst out laughing. Just when she thought things couldn't get any more surreal, the galaxy threw another curveball. "Well," she said to herself, shaking her head in amusement, "I guess tomorrow we'll be discussing time travel. Just another day in galactic diplomacy." As she prepared to leave her office for the day, Ilara took one last look at the bustling alien city outside. Somewhere out there, humans were making new friends, sharing stories, and probably introducing the concept of pizza to beings from across the cosmos. The galaxy, it turned out, was a far more wondrous and welcoming place than they had ever imagined. And humanity, with its boundless creativity and insatiable curiosity, was finding its place among the stars. With a contented sigh, Ilara switched off her office lights and headed out. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new wonders, and undoubtedly new stories to tell, and she couldn't wait to see what the next chapter would bring. Unity and a new galactic era. 5 years had passed since humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage. The initial frenzy of cultural exchange had settled into a steady hum of interstellar collaboration, and Earth had become a shining jewel in the cosmic tapestry of civilizations. Ambassador Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive space habitat orbiting Earth. The station, a joint project between humans and various alien species, served as a symbol of the new era of cooperation and understanding. As she gazed out at the blue marble of Earth below, Ilara reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The misunderstandings, the revelations, the challenges and triumphs, all had led to this moment. "Quite a view, isn't it?" a familiar voice said behind her. Ilara turned to see George Lucas, the man whose revelation had changed everything 5 years ago. Despite his advanced age, his eyes still twinkled with the same mischievous glint. "Mr. Lucas," Ilara greeted him with a warm smile. "I didn't know you were on the station." He chuckled, mooking to stand beside her at the window. "Oh, I wouldn't miss this for the world. Or should I say, for the galaxy." Today marked the opening ceremony of the first Galactic Cultural Olympiad, an event that would showcase the best of every civilization's arts, sciences, and achievements. It was to be hosted on Harmony Station, with billions of beings across the galaxy tuning in to watch. "Nervous?" George asked, a knowing look in his eye. Ilara laughed softly. "Is it that obvious? 5 years ago, we were just trying to convince the galaxy we weren't warmongers. Now we're hosting the biggest cultural event in cosmic history. It's a lot." George patted her shoulder reassuringly. "You've done remarkably well, Ambassador. We all have. But then again, that's the human way, isn't it? Adapting, creating, bringing people together through stories and shared experiences." As they spoke, a flurry of activity behind them signaled the arrival of the other key figures for the ceremony. Ambassador Zixnera glided in, her scales a dazzling array of excited colors. She was followed by Kroll, whose cybernetic enhancements had been upgraded to include a universal translator, allowing him to understand and speak in thousands of languages simultaneously. Ambassador Chen, Zixnera greeted, her voice filled with warmth. The final preparations are complete. It's time. Ilara took a deep breath, straightened her ceremonial robes, a stunning fusion of Earth's diverse cultural dress styles, and nodded. Well then, let's make history. The main atrium of Harmony Station was a marvel of engineering and artistry. Its transparent dome offered a breathtaking view of Earth and the star-studded cosmos beyond. Beings from hundreds of worlds filled the space, a dizzying array of shapes, sizes, and colors all united in anticipation. As Ilara stepped onto the central platform, a hush fell over the crowd. Millions of eyes, tentacles, and sensory organs of all descriptions focused on her. Billions more watched through broadcasts across the galaxy. Friends, neighbors, fellow citizens of the cosmos, Ilara began, her voice clear and strong. 5 years ago, Earth stood on the brink of a misunderstanding that could have led to tragedy. Today, we stand united in celebration of our differences and our shared love of storytelling, creativity, and discovery. As she spoke, holographic displays around the atrium came to life, showing scenes from the journey that had brought them to this point. The initial fear and suspicion, the revelation of humanity's role in galactic entertainment, the challenges of cultural integration, and the triumphs of collaboration all played out in vivid detail. The Galactic Cultural Olympiad, Ilara continued, is more than just a showcase of our achievements. It is a testament to the power of understanding, of seeing beyond our differences to recognize the universal desires that unite us all, the desire to learn, to create, to connect, and to leave our mark on the vast canvas of the cosmos. As her speech concluded, the atrium erupted in applause, a cacophony of sounds from countless alien physiologies, all expressing the same sentiment of appreciation and unity. The ceremony that followed was a spectacle unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Holographic performances blended seamlessly with physical displays. A Quilaxian color-shifting ballet danced in harmony with human parkour athletes. Vargan poets engaged in verse battles with Earth's finest wordsmiths, their words translated in real time and displayed as swirling patterns of light. But the true highlight came towards the end of the ceremony. As the applause for the latest performance died down, the lights in the atrium dimmed. A sense of anticipation filled the air. Suddenly, the space above the central platform shimmered, and a figure appeared. A stunningly realistic hologram of Carl Sagan, one of Earth's most beloved science communicators. "Greetings, citizens of the cosmos," the hologram began, its voice a perfect recreation of Sagan's iconic tone. "Though I did not live to see this day, my words, through the magic of technology and the human spirit of exploration, reach out across time and space to join in your celebration." The hologram of Sagan began to recite his famous pale blue dot speech, his words now carrying new weight and meaning in this truly interstellar context. As he spoke of Earth as a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam, the hologram expanded, showing the vastness of the galaxy, then zooming in on Earth, a tiny blue marble amidst the cosmic ocean. "Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark," Sagan's words echoed through the atrium. "In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves." But then, the hologram changed, showing scenes of the past 5 years. Humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge, creating art, solving problems. Yet, the hologram continued, deviating from the original speech. "We have found that we are not alone. That in the vast cosmic darkness, there are countless points of light, civilizations reaching out to one another, sharing their stories, their knowledge, their very essence." As the hologram faded, there wasn't a dry eye or equivalent sensory organ in the atrium. The message was clear. Humanity's journey to the stars had not only changed Earth, but had brought a new perspective to the entire galactic community. In the aftermath of the ceremony, as beings from across the galaxy mingled and shared their experiences, Ilara found herself once again on the observation deck, looking out at Earth. She was joined by Zixnera, Kroll, and several other alien diplomats she had come to know well over the years. "You know," Kroll said, his metallic voice softer than usual, "5 years ago, I was convinced your species was preparing for war. Now I can't imagine the galaxy without you." Zixnera's scales shimmered in agreement. Humanity has brought a vibrance, a creativity to our community that we didn't even know we were missing. Your stories, your art, your insatiable curiosity, they've rejuvenated cultures that had grown stagnant over millennia. Ilara felt a swell of pride, not just for humanity, but for all they had accomplished together. "And we've learned so much from all of you," she replied. "New perspectives, new ways of thinking, new possibilities we never could have imagined on our own." As they stood there, watching shuttles ferry participants back and forth between Earth and the station, a thought struck Ilara. "You know," she said, a smile playing on her lips, "in many of our old science fiction stories, humanity would often unite in the face of an alien threat. But the reality turned out to be so much better. We united not in fear, but in friendship, in shared wonder at the vastness and diversity of the cosmos." The aliens nodded in understanding, each reflecting on how their own cultures had been transformed by this new era of galactic cooperation. As the Galactic Cultural Olympiad continued below them, showcasing the best of what every civilization had to offer, Ilara couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement for the future. What new stories would they tell together? What wonders would they discover? What challenges would they overcome? The galaxy, once a source of fear and uncertainty, had become a vast playground of possibilities. And humanity, with its unique blend of creativity, resilience, and insatiable curiosity, had found its place among the stars. As Ilara looked out at the Earth, the pale blue dot that had given birth to countless stories that now echoed across the cosmos, she smiled. The greatest story of all. The story of life reaching out to life across the vast distances of space was only just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see how the next chapter would unfold.